And we are back. Welcome back to the prediction series. Back on my usual PC setup now after all of the drama we had on Monday and Tuesday. For those of you wondering, I did in fact lose everything that I had in terms of my prediction setup over the course of the last couple of years, which is a shame, but also why you should back up all of your stuff, something I will be doing in the future. So for today, I have remade essentially all of my predictions setup, hence why today's video has also been delayed later than usual. But that does mean that tomorrow morning we will have the FA Cup video at the usual time, and then Friday we'll have the Premier League predictions at the usual time, albeit potentially slightly different format to how it used to be, because obviously I've had to rebuild it all again from scratch. But like I say, today we are here to talk about all of tomorrow's Europa League and Europa Conference League quarter-final second legs. Most of these ties still incredibly finely poised, and obviously, of course, those massive ones that we will get to shortly. But before we get into it, if you haven't done so already, please do consider dropping a like on this video if you do enjoy my predictions, and subscribing to the channel as well so you don't miss out on any of those aforementioned coming up prediction videos. Without any further ado, let's get straight into all of the action in the Europa Conference League first in this video, because once again we have two Europa Conference League fixtures taking place prior to the remaining games in the Conference League and then the Europa League. Starting off then, we have Fiorentina and Victoria Pilsen, and the 0-0 streak continues. We started off with Ludogorets and Servette, then Servette into Victoria Pilsen, and I said last week that I just couldn't see it being 0-0 again. And then it was 0-0 again. So I come into this second leg now with Fiorentina once again playing at the weekend and once again drawing. Not a good result for them. They're now, I spoke about it last week, how they're on track for their usual finish. They're now slightly off track for their usual finish after the result of the weekend. Victoria Pilsen, on the other hand, went and got a 1-0 win over Slavia Prague, which has had a massive impact on the Czech title race, with their other Prague team now taking their spot ahead of them in the table. So a big result for Pilsen, yet again to 0. So it is now 4 games running that Victoria Pilsen haven't conceded a goal in. And I look at this now, and I'm not going 0-0. I refuse. I will die on my sword for this to not be 0-0 again. I will not have matches involving Victoria Pilsen on this prediction series be 4 consecutive 0-0s. 1-0 Fiorentina again. Genuinely, Pilsen could pull off the result and potentially even get a 1-0 win away here. But I refuse to see this game go another 90 minutes plus an added 30 to another 0-0 penalty result. I'm going 1-0 Fiorentina again. We'll see what happens. The other early kickoff is between Lille and Aston Villa. And boy, oh boy, what a weekend it was for Aston Villa. That massive 2-0 win away at Arsenal, which, I'm not being funny, pretty much guarantees them Champions League football for next season. I think everyone expects them to go very far in this competition. I think everyone possibly even expects Aston Villa to win this competition now. And doing so will massively affect that coefficient that we'll get to shortly. More on that in the Europa League section of this video. But they played fantastic. Lille, I believe, had the weekend off. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe Lille had the weekend off. So they go into this off the back of the 2-1 defeat last week. To be honest with you, after the performance I saw at Arsenal, I just think Villa are going to win this one as well. I went for 2-1 last week. It was 2-1 last week. I'm going to go 2-1 to Aston Villa again. I think that's just about right. But we'll see. For me, it's going to be Aston Villa that advance with another 2-1 win. That then brings us on to the 2 later games in the Europa Conference League, starting off with Fenerbahce and Olympiacos. I went for a 2-2 draw last week. That was relatively justified come the end of the match. Olympiacos did take a 3-goal lead in this match and then threw away 2 goals late on, and I imagine they'll be pretty disappointed with that, because if they'd have taken a 3-0 lead into this second leg, I think they'd have been pretty confident they would see it out. But now we look at it and it's only 2-3, and I think Fenerbahce at home, especially again, Fenerbahce played and won at the weekend. Olympiacos did not play. I would expect Fenerbahce to get the win at home. It's just going to be a case of whether or not it's going to be a big enough win to not let it go to extra time and penalties. I am going to go for a 3-1 win to Fenerbahce, which will make it 5-4 in aggregate and see Fenerbahce advance. But we had a lot of comments in the last video talking about how strong the Greek sides can be. So we'll see what happens. For me, I think the Turks are just going to edge it. Speaking of Greeks, we then move on to PAOK, taking on Club Brugge in the second leg. I went for, I think it was a 3-1 win. I went for Bruges in the first game. Was of course, a 1-0 win. Going into this second leg, I look at PAOK's form, especially at home. They are so strong at home. And Bruges' away form has not been great in recent times. For me, I think that 1-goal lead isn't quite going to be enough to see them through. Whether or not it's going to be a case of, again, settled in 90 minutes or settled beyond 90 minutes, we shall see. But I am going to go for a 2-0 win to PAOK in normal time, meaning that they will advance to the semi-finals from that position. That is going to be it for the Europa Conference League portion of this video. Take one last look at those beautiful fixtures and let me know your thoughts on anything Conference League down in the comment section right now, because it is now time to turn our attentions to the Europa League. And what a place to start. We have Atalanta and Liverpool. 3-0 the lead from Atalanta. Obviously, I went for a Liverpool victory last time out. I went for 3-2. But I did put it with the premise that Atalanta are an incredibly good side away from home in big matches. And it proved to be the case again. What I didn't mention is that at home, Atalanta have not been very good at all. And that was backed up by the fact that off the back of their 3-0 win against Liverpool, they drew 2-2 at home in the league. Liverpool, of course, backed up their 3-0 defeat with another 1-0 defeat at home again to Crystal Palace. So it'd be very easy for me to sit here and say Atalanta did the job in the first leg, this tie is over, and Atalanta are going to go through and advance from here. Unfortunately, as a Manchester United fan that always wants Liverpool to lose, I have seen on far too many occasions, especially under Jurgen Klopp, Liverpool pull off the absolute impossible. If you think for 1 second this tie is over, you are mental. Because Liverpool, on their day, can easily pull back that 3-0 scoreline. Especially against a side, as I've just mentioned, aren't particularly very good at home this year. The only issue is, Liverpool have a tendency to pile too many players forward. And as we saw at Anfield, Atalanta are very good at hitting those counter-attacks. So I think Liverpool are going to score some goals. I think Liverpool are going to win the match. However, I think they're going to leave themselves too exposed, and that 3-0 margin is just going to be enough to see Atalanta go through. I'm going to go for 4-2 to Liverpool. It's going to be a fascinating game. And like I say, if Liverpool can get the first couple of goals in this game, best believe this tie is going to be well on. But we'll see. If Atalanta score first, then for me it would be over. But I'm going 4-2 Liverpool. I think it's going to be a very interesting game. Next up, we have Marseille taking on Benfica. And we spoke about Marseille's record. 4 defeats in a row going into the first leg. That became 5 defeats after the 2-1 defeat to Benfica last week. And then Marseille didn't play at the weekend. So they are coming into this game off the back of 5 consecutive defeats. Benfica backed up their win by winning yet again at the weekend in the league. And for me, like I said last week, I just don't think Marseille are up to this. I think Benfica are better than them. I think Benfica are going to beat them again. And I'm going to go for back-to-back 2-1 wins to Benfica. Then we move on to what was, for me, even more of a shock than Atalanta's result at Liverpool. And that may surprise you because I don't think many people expected Atalanta certainly to win 3-0 away at Liverpool. But like I said already, I expected Atalanta to give Liverpool a game. I didn't see Roma getting anything against AC Milan. I really didn't. I thought the way Milan have played so far this season, the previous games against Roma in the league that they won pretty comfortably, I just didn't see Roma getting a result. Roma going to Milan and winning 1-0, a phenomenal result for them. What's worse from an AC Milan perspective is they backed up that performance by drawing 3-3, albeit coming from 3-1 down, against a relegation near certainty at this point, Sassuolo. So, yes, Milan did make some changes for that game, but not as many as you'd expect. And, well, I look at this game now and think, realistically, Roma have to be considered the favourites. Yes, we all know AC Milan, if all their key players turn up, you would expect them to still get the win. But Roma looked very good last week, and I expect Roma to perform again. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Roma, 3-1 on aggregate, and Roma progressing to the semi-finals at their compatriots' expenses. That then finally leaves West Ham United and Bayer Leverkusen. The game that really will define the coefficient, as well as the Atalanta-Liverpool game that we spoke about earlier. Obviously, as someone that would like to see 5 Premier League teams in the Champions League next season, it would be good to see Liverpool turn around that result against Atalanta, even though obviously as a United fan want Liverpool to lose. This is the other game that could have some sway on it because Germany are involved in the coefficient argument as well. Unfortunately, I just look at this game. I look at the fact that Bayer Leverkusen wrapped up their league title with a massive 5-0 win at the weekend. I look at the fact that West Ham backed up their 2-0 defeat by losing 2-0 at home to Fulham at the weekend, who realistically Fulham aren't playing for too much. Yes, they still have an outside chance of qualifying for Europe, but for West Ham, that was a real opportunity to make sure they get into Europe for next season, and they really threw it away against Fulham at the weekend. So, off the back of 2 consecutive 2-0 defeats, I just don't see West Ham having enough motivation to really turn this game around. And obviously, Bayer Leverkusen are flying, 43 games unbeaten. They're now the league champions. The only thing that could work in West Ham's favour is because of all of those things, they might just take their eye off the ball going into this one. But I don't think they will. I'm going for Leverkusen again. I'm going for 3-1 on the night, 5-1 on aggregate, and that will end any chance of West Ham realistically getting into Europe for next season as well, and will also put a massive dent in that Premier League coefficient, going for 5th place in the Champions League for next season. But that is going to be it for all of my predictions today. As always, let me know all of your thoughts down in the comment section below, and thank you very much for your patience for waiting for this video to come at the usual time. And like I say, tomorrow we should be back on it at the usual time of 9 AM for my FA Cup semi-final predictions. Thank you very much for watching. As always, I will see you again very, very soon.